Real quick before we get started, what is a Jody Fortson?
Wha- What is a Jody Fortson?
Yeah,
He's a guy. He's a tight end for the Chiefs, who it seems like for the past like 2 or 3 seasons has just stolen away like 2 or 3 random touchdowns from Kelsey every year.
he's been in the league for more than 3 weeks.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show, your guide through the labyrinthian, I almost said maze, but those two are sort of the same thing, gambit of trade value during the point scoring season where I have no idea what's going on. And Addison is here to tell me how wrong I am because I have feelings. And this is not a game of feelings because that's how you get hurt.
Oh,
I have no idea I had no idea how I started there, how we got here. But we are here not only for some week 3 reactions, we are here to talk about some L's. And no, I'm not talking about losses because at DLF, we don't lose.
yes. I like that. That's a good one.
I was waiting. I was literally just going to stay here until you reacted at all.
Yep.
Because, like, check mark for, some of the corporate sponsorship right there. Like, I just, bing, got like an extra 5 cents in my paycheck.
Yes, you did.
We get paychecks. Okay. Well, first we are going to start out with Trey Lance, which I know isn't necessarily a week 3 reaction, but since his injury happened in week 2, we needed some time for some trades to actually happen for us to be able to talk about those trades. And here we are. And this first one sounds a little fishy to me. We'll get into it. In a 12-team Superflex league, Trey Lance, Kadarius Toney, and Greg Dulcich for Russell Wilson, DJ Dallas, and something called Jody Fortson. Apparently, this is a player in the NFL that has been in the NFL, and I've literally just never heard this name before.
Yeah.
I mean, Addison was making up the most basic of stats. Apparently, he had 1 target for 1 catch for 1 yard and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago against the Cardinals.
That's made up. I'm sorry.
And he also had a couple touchdowns last year too, because I remember watching the Chiefs game because I had Travis Kelce and something called a Jody Fortson caught a touchdown on like the 2-yard line, and it wasn't Travis Kelce, and I was mad.
I would be mad that imaginary people were scoring touchdowns instead of Travis Kelce also.
Yeah. Yep, it happened.
Fishy, I tell you. Okay, so Trey Lance is coming in at 529. Kadarius Toney, 83. Greg Dulcich, 13 for a total of 626. Russell Wilson, 634. DJ Dallas, 7.3. And I mean, he's make-believe, so he's worth 0, and he actually is worth 0. This isn't joking around done now. 0. For a total of 641. All right, I mean, like this, Trey Lance and Kadarius Toney for Russell Wilson, I guess.
Basically, yeah. You can just throw everything else out.
Right? Kadarius Toney's weird. Like at this point, I just want them to move him because he's fun to watch, but they don't want to play him.
It's going to be really bad because now Sterling Shepard tore his ACL. Yeah. So it's going to be really bad now if he's actually not seeing playing time, because that tells us all we need to know about him.
We're there already. I mean, Sterling Shepard wasn't holding back the first round drafted wide receiver.
No, but I think that would just be like the final like nail in the coffin. You know what I'm saying? Just like
there's got to be someone that'll give you a 3rd or 4th for him. Just take it and move on, and let us see him somewhere else.
Yep.
I know you watch this. Whoever the GM of the Giants is now, so get on the phone.
Trade him.
All right. So Trey Lance and a little bit for Russell Wilson. What's wrong with the Denver offense? It doesn't look good.
Nathaniel Hackett, bro.
I know it's rough, but like I have to assume it'll get better as the season goes on, because after a while, like even nice guy Russell Wilson's gonna have to be like, why don't you just let me take care of this for a little bit? Like I got this, But at least him to Cortland Sutton looks pretty good. That's really all I got. But you had Trey Lance. You had Trey Lance at the beginning of the season with the hopes of those legs giving you those points, even if he wasn't that great at throwing the ball, which we didn't really know if he was. So chances are, especially seeing the end results of this trade, you were hoping to use Trey Lance to score points, in which case I don't care about adding Kadarius Toney to change to a quarterback who's scoring points at all. I mean, like
Mhm.
Russell Wilson might not be the QB1 we hoped he would be in an offense that would let him throw the ball, but he's not bad. And he still has the upside of being very, very good if they decide to play offense. So I like this in terms of you're getting points. I'm finding it very hard to find a value that would make me accept getting Trey Lance on my team right now, even in a rebuild.
Mm.
Like, we're going to talk a little later about a rebuild that I'm starting where I still have Derek Carr because I just got my first back. And like, if someone sent me Trey Lance for Derek Carr, I would take that. But like,
You would take Lance?
yeah.
Okay. I was gonna ask, like, where in rankings kind of is Trey Lance for you? Like, how many
That's a
quarterbacks
really good question. Hold
would
on.
you actually trade away straight up for Trey Lance?
All right, hold on. I know it doesn't matter, but we're talking about a super flex league, so I need to pull up the super flex ADP, even though it's just quarterbacks, so it doesn't necessarily matter. Okay, so Trey Lance is QB 10.
Right. That was before he got hurt. So
Yeah. This is September. The October one's just started. All right. Assuming I decided I'm done for the year, like right now, and I had good players on my team. Right below Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, clearly not. Justin Fields, still no, because he's young and I believe in the player, even though I have no idea what the heck that offense is doing. Tom Brady, yes. Stafford, even though he's not playing well, I still wouldn't do it. Kirk Cousins, probably not. Tua, young quarterback. Deshaun Watson, I mean, no, just because of what his value is going to be, even though by the end of the season, I wouldn't want Watson on a team that I'm rebuilding still, because we're assuming he's going to start scoring points the second he comes back. And then after we get to Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, I'm going to skip over Mac Jones because he's too young. Jameis Winston, Baker, like, yeah, any of those guys, one for one. But is anyone like I would be surprised to see like Lance for Aaron Rodgers at this point. Like, even with Lance missing this year, you'd probably have to add like a second to Aaron Rodgers to get that done. And I'm not doing that.
To be honest, I probably would. But yeah, Russell Wilson was honestly the most popular quarterback in the trade finder after Lance's injury, because it just seems like he's the quarterback right now that is struggling, still young enough that it makes sense. That it's not Rodgers or Brady, or Matt Ryan or somebody like that. He still has the upside, like you said, of while he's not producing now, we've seen Russ be fantastic and elite, and he has still Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton and Albert O and Javonte, and all that stuff. So the hope that their offense could get better is still there for fantasy. Yeah. And I think that's what makes sense is kind of at the end of the season when Trey Lance does come back and he is healthy next offseason into next season. Lance and Russell Wilson might still be similarly valued in Dynasty still, that I think this trade makes sense a little bit on both sides. But I do agree. Like, I feel like it is kind of hard right now that if you have Russell Wilson, I'm not sure if I'm necessarily trading him away for Trey Lance. I'd rather upgrade at the position with Russell Wilson than what I perceive as kind of a downgrade for now until Lance actually comes back. Because there's still risk with Lance. Jimmy G could take them to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, and they could be fantastic. I think Jimmy G could play his way into a top 10 NFL pick, and they are in position to potentially draft a quarterback next year if they're kind of done with Lance. There's still a lot of risk. And then on top of the fact that we don't even know if Lance is actually good. We still don't even know that. He's still projected.
And we're talking fourth year. We're going to get to see it. Sort of. Like
third year. Yeah.
If Lance, I should have kept talking. My bad. Let's say he comes back for the beginning of the season. How anyone who is a Lance fan will write off how much of that season to, he's just getting his footing back. He doesn't trust his ankle yet. And honestly, they're not wrong. But is his dynasty value going to stay insulated? There's going to be too many people that are just done. because how many new quarterbacks will have been in the league by then? How many things will have changed in the quarterback landscape in general by then? Like, I don't think his value stays by the time anyone who wants to acquire Lance will feel safe paying what they should to get the quarterback that we've been holding on to for the past year and change.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
That's what worries me more than anything about Lance. Well, value and how long it's been, and if he doesn't come back the same, like, destroyed his ankle, like, that's
for a Russian quarterback. That's not ideal.
That's not great. That's not ideal. Like,
yeah.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which, yeah. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Whew. I was about to make a judgment that I didn't, I figured I should actually read the pieces in the trade. Also 12-team Superflex, Trey Lance was traded for a 24 first, 24 second, and 23 fourth. Trey Lance, 529 still. A 24 first is 257, 24 second, 90 points, and a 23 fourth, 18 points for a total of 364. I would probably pay this for Lance if my team was in the middle. Like, if I'm in like full rebuild mode and I'm going to get the 101 this year and probably still have an early first in 24, I would probably just rather ride with my draft picks. That's where I'm stuck on this. Like, there's no way I'm giving up a top 2/3 23 pick for him. And I don't even know if I would give up a bottom first, like a late first in 23, just because what those 23 picks are going to be worth. Like, maybe if we hit draft time and it doesn't feel as nice at the bottom of the first as we think it's going to be, for whatever reason possible, maybe. But the 23 class is seemingly too good, and even if it's not, the value of the picks are too high that I can't give up a 23. And honestly, it has to be a very weird situation. Okay, here we go. If my team is like good, like middle of the pack, good, I have the ability to make some trades still and get my team better. Like, let's say I have my 23 second, third, and fourth, and all of my 24 picks. I might do this, send my 24 first, and then build up my team to compete. Because imagine going into next year with a team that made the playoffs, might have won the championship, and then you go into the next year with Trey Lance.
I like it.
How specific, how little window of a situation it has. That's what it would have to take for me to do this. Like, I think I might just be out on Lance at this point. I think that's what that means.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you there too, because that was going to be my next question for you on this one, because we were talking 24 first, but I was wondering what your perspective was on 23. And I agree with you. Basically, like, top half for sure, I'm keeping that over Trey Lance straight up. The late picks is where it starts getting a little bit dicier, because on the potential that he is still the starting quarterback, like, and a young starting quarterback with mobile ability, he should be worth that late first. Like, if he was part of the 23 draft class, he would probably be a mid to late first, if not maybe even a little bit sooner. But we have some other risk baked into him and stuff like that, and just his value's gone down a little bit from when he was just a true prospect. Yep. But I do also think that I would not pay a later 23 first right now for Trey Lance, because I still believe that you can get somewhat of that close of a deal done at that time. Like you said, like when you get to the draft and see that, Lance is kind of healthy, the power that a 23 pick is going to hold is going to be huge. And that would be a direction that I'd be willing to take then, but not now, especially if you're trying to use that 23 first. If you are, you have a late 23 first, right? You're competing. Don't use that on Trey Lance, right? Like, that, to me, that doesn't make sense. I'd rather use that to beef up another position. I would use, my quarterback and that late first and go get like Jalen Hurts or, Joe Burrow or somebody like that. That's what I want to do with that first at the quarterback position. rather than trade it away for a quarterback and an asset that I'm not going to be able to do anything with this year.
But we've been talking about this for a while, so we're going to move on to Trevor Lawrence, someone who we have seen for the first 3 weeks do very well. And I'm very happy to see it because, man, I was driving that Urban Meyer excuse into the ground just like over and over again. And I like what I see. I'm ready for it. So in a 12-team Superflex, very tight end premium league, Trevor Lawrence, a 23 first, and TJ Hawkinson for Josh Allen and DeAndre Hopkins. I was not expecting the second side of that trade. Whew. Okay. Trevor Lawrence is 607, the 2023 first, 384. TJ Hawkinson, 213 for a total of 1,203. And Josh Allen at 989. Wow. And Nuke is at 99 for a total of 1087.9. I got to be honest. Still think I want Josh Allen.
Yeah, that was my answer too. I looked at this and I was like, man, this is a hefty price, but at the end of the day, it's Josh Allen, right?
I cannot tell you how happy I feel to see 607 next to Trevor Lawrence's name. Like, that is respect being put on Trevor Lawrence. But Josh Allen he's been the QB1 for the past 2 years. Looks like he can do it again. I like what I'm seeing from Trevor Lawrence. He's doing really well. I would love to see some more rushing being put in there. Like, yeah. I think he has rushed like literally 3 times every single game, and it's for single digits. Like, I don't think he's broken 10 yards yet.
Yep.
And we know that's something he can do. We've seen, like, he did it in college. There's no reason to think that he can't do it. So, and I'm not there for TJ Hawkinson anymore. Like, I'm done believing he can be that elite tight end. In which case, I'm giving up Josh Allen, a 26-year-old stud, like the stud quarterback, for a lot of that would be nice.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I wouldn't even do this then. Let's pretend someone just dropped out of the league and I took over this team this week and the team is so bad and all I have is Josh Allen. Still don't know if I do this. The only way I do this is if I know that there is a TJ Hawkinson person in this league. Someone that will be like, you can go and flip Hawkinson for a decent first. Because even in a 2 tight end premium league, man, I don't know if there's anyone that's still into Hawkinson.
No, you got to pivot off to a different tight end at this point.
Or like, honestly, just don't get a tight end. I get it with the 2 points per reception boosts value, and it absolutely should, but he's just not my guy anymore. So I love the idea of this. If it was almost anyone else besides like the top 3, like if it was anyone but Allen, Herbert, and Mahomes, I would start thinking about this. Okay, and like Lamar, because he's letting everyone know that you forgot me in that top tier of quarterbacks, and I'm going to show you why you should put me back in there.
So my assumption was correct that I think the reason that you would do this, if you're sending Lawrence in a first and Hawkinson for Josh Allen and DeAndre Hopkins, you are a contending team, right? Like, that first should be late. Because I was going to give you if that first was early, like if you had 2 or 3 firsts to work with, and that first ended up being some like rebuilders first or something like that.
Okay, that would definitely change things.
Top 4-ish. Then I could definitely see me like taking the Trevor Lawrence side. But my assumption was correct that this was his own first round pick, and he is a contender because now his quarterbacks are Josh Allen and Joe Burrow.
So you put you're taking the first of a guy from a team, you're giving Josh Allen. That first is getting worse.
Yes, it is. Especially whenever you pair him with Joe Burrow. His wide receivers are Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, and now you give Amari Cooper, and now you just gave him DeAndre Hopkins. When he comes back too, he's got George Kittle and Kyle Pitts. He's got Dobbins, Jacobs, Mixon, and Zeke. So he's at least got running backs to work with too. Like, yeah, that's a good team. This is 110, 111, 112. So I'm taking Josh Allen. I'm taking the Josh Allen side. I would honestly, I would love to do this. like I view this as kind of like a sell high on Trevor Lawrence of
Hmm.
finding the person who believes that the Lawrence breakout is here, which I think Lawrence is going to be great. I think that he's going to be thrown in with, the Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray kind of range of Joe Burrow range of quarterbacks by the end of the year. But that still doesn't mean that I wouldn't take those guys as well at a first, go get Josh Allen, and then you have Josh Allen, So yeah, I love it.
Okay, so this next one is a very funny story. Assuming
so
you
you-
noticed that it was a trade
so
addicts league this happened in.
You know this trade.
I do.
This is I was telling you beforehand, I have stuff to tell you about for this one.
You have something to tell me about this one.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I was recording Trade Addicts one day, and the lovely human being, J Mike, DMs me, and he's, every time I want to ask you a trade question, it always ends up being in a league you're in, and then I can't ask you. So I say two things. I will always be honest when you especially, but when anyone asks me a trade question, I will literally always be honest. And two, you could have just left out what league it is, and I never would have put it together I was in this league. I am in far too many leagues, and I don't think that deeply into it. People just ask me values, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that works. He tells me, he's like, all right, well, I'm looking to sell a young quarterback without getting a quarterback coming back to me, and I don't really know how to value that. And I knew he had two quarterbacks on his team that were young. He had Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence. So I'm like, well, for Mac Jones, but look around, like this guy. If you're looking for Trevor Lawrence, you go and get someone like Deebo Samuel. And then like 5 minutes later, bing, email, Trevor Lawrence for Deebo Samuel and Antonio Gibson. And I literally just go, well, hey, you got more. Good job, buddy.
Nice.
Like, it was just so funny that I'm like, yeah, you're going to want someone like Deebo Samuel. And then he literally goes and gets Deebo Samuel.
And Antonio Gibson. Yeah.
And Antonio Gibson.
Yeah. Cool. So, okay. So, yeah, go ahead and read the trade-off so that people actually know what's going on here.
Yes. Sorry about that. 12-team Superflex League. Trevor Lawrence for Deebo Samuel and Antonio Gibson. Trevor Lawrence, 627. Deebo, 540. No, let's just say 550. And Antonio Gibson, 231 for a total of 781.
So, this is awesome, man. Honestly, this was totally not planned for everybody else out there as well. Do you know who he did this deal with?
Well, was it Hogue?
Yeah. So he did this deal.
Did John go to you?
No.
That would have been really funny if we put this deal together behind the scenes.
That would have been really funny. But so John Hogue was on the other side of this. He was the one who was getting Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
And me being really good friends with John Hogue, I saw that this was his trade. I decided, because we never really have insight into these kind of deals unless it was like your trade or something like that, or maybe in a TA7 you can give a little bit of team context because you're in the league. But I wanted to go right to the source. I wanted to see what John's thought process was behind this deal. So he said, and I'm just going to read what he wrote because I asked him for the process and the insight. He said, part of it is my roster build. I'm super deep at running back, so Gibson was pretty expendable, and I also think that he's about to get replaced by Brian Robinson, and then his value tanks. You also only have to start one wide receiver, which I have Deontay, and I've never had problems finding receivers in that league, so it didn't hurt losing Deebo all too much in my mind. The big thing is I've never been able to fix my quarterbacks in this league. I started with Barkley in the startup, and I've never recovered since. My team is constantly middle of the pack, and I can't break through because my quarterbacks are weak. So I decided I'd rather throw it into rebuild mode, start building around young, high upside quarterbacks than stay in the purgatory of middle of the pack. It's probably the first domino to fall as well because I'll probably tear down the entire roster down to get my quarterbacks right and then be confident that I can build the rest of it back up around them after that. So that's what he said.
And J Mike's team, for anyone that hasn't heard us talk about it, this is his J Mike Invitational team where he had the entire 2021 draft.
I was gonna say I looked at his team as well, and I don't think I've ever seen a team actually have like all of the top 8 wide receivers in Dynasty.
No one knows how it happened, but J Mike's team.
He literally has Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Waddle, and Stephon Diggs.
No one knows how it happened.
And Travis Kelce.
No one knows.
and Jonathan Taylor and Javonte and Joe Mixon and Najee and Jalen Hurts. How, how the heck do you acquire this team?
Literally, no one remembers any of this. J Mike may have hypnotized us or
He probably
something.
did.
Or like he stole commish access when I wasn't paying attention and just started like messing around. Like, because no one remembers making any of these trades to give him all of these players.
Man,
But
what a heck
his
of a
team,
freaking thing.
like you just heard, his team is stacked. He had literally 5 starting quarterbacks. Unfortunately, one, he traded away Mac Jones, he traded away Trevor Lawrence, and one of them was Lance. So now he has. I mean, he still has Rodgers and Hurts, so you're not going to be sad about it. But yeah, so that's why he knew that these young quarterbacks were, I mean, expendable being the wrong word because it's Trevor Lawrence, but if he can bolster his team in a position he could use the players, seemed worth the effort. And I mean, I thought this was a great trade because it was pretty much exactly the value I thought it should be. And I mean, I don't think anyone's super high on Antonio Gibson anymore, so just to throw him in to get the deal done is absolutely fine.
Yeah, and then from John's perspective, like when I saw this trade in the trade finder, I just immediately I said, "Well, I honestly like this deal to get Trevor Lawrence because you didn't have to give a quarterback up, and Debo and Antonio Gibson. I think that's enough to just go get a quarterback in Superflex like Trevor Lawrence." And then I saw the names that were attached to it. I saw it was TA6. I saw John Hogue got Trevor Lawrence. I'm like, this makes sense. So then I just reached out and I said, and I asked him for his process, and it just confirmed what I thought. That for those of you that don't know, John Hogue is QBX. He is, I will draft 6 quarterbacks in a startup in Superflex because I know that they're the most valuable. And then when people get desperate, they're going to come to me and I'm going to be able to sell them for a little bit more than what they're worth because people are desperate for quarterbacks. So he is QB guy in Superflex leagues. And this trade just made so much sense when I saw that he was getting Trevor Lawrence. And then he said that he was starting to tear it down, wanted to get quarterbacks first and then build the rest out of it. And that all of that just makes so much sense. So I get both of these sides. I don't know if J Mike honestly really even needed to do this because his team is just going to win anyway. So he could literally not make any moves and just let the projections like set his lineup for him. And I think for the next 3 years, just like cash in championship.
All that matters is, I mean, J Mike won last year, but I won the year before. So that's fine. That's all that matters. I finally won. So I'm like, whatever, that's fine. That could happen. By the way, just before we move on, Hogue's other quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, Drew Lock, Baker Mayfield, Mike White, and Zach Wilson.
So you can see why he wants to.
So you could see why he went after Trevor.
tear it down, get better quarterbacks, build around them, figure out the rest later. Hey guys, real quick, I just want to let y'all know that this video is sponsored by No House Advantage, who's changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available. Play and pick'em contests for a shot at winning $250,000 or more in just straight up cash. You can download their app, choose a contest, select your prayer props, earn points for correct picks, and climb the leaderboard for your shot to win big money every single day. Bet on up to 5 player prop over-unders or individual player matchups across every major sports league, including the NFL, NBA, MLB, PGA, MMA, and NASCAR. You can sign up today with promo code DLF at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app to get an initial deposit match up to $25. Make sure to check out No House Advantage today and experience daily fantasy sports redefined, because it's not just how you play, but also where you play. You don't want to miss this, so check out the link in the description or go to nohouseadvantage.com, promo code DLF.
All right, the last L we have is Drake London, and who is doing exactly what most of us thought he was going to do. A, talent-wise, B, situation-wise. Like, he's just doing very, very well. In a 12-team one quarterback league, Drake London for an early 23 first and Sky Moore. Drake London 531, the early 23 first 604.1, and Sky Moore 206.6. That's not bad for Sky Moore, for a total of 810. Yeah, okay. So a large part of the value of the 23 firsts is Superflex, is the amount of quarterbacks in there. There are still some very, very good other position players, but hearing that it's early, like, I feel like the answer should be yes, but it's just like, I know what I have. Why would I risk that? unless you believe in Sky Moore to the point where you think Sky Moore can give you like 75% of Drake London, and then you get that first on top. But otherwise, I don't like, to me, I don't know if I have the stuff that it takes to send this trade for Drake London, even though, like I'm saying right now, I think it's probably worth it. But I think I'd take London.
Yeah, I would take London in this too. Basically, my thought process around this was, so it's a 1 QB league. So like you said, the first becomes a little bit less valuable, but since it's still early, you're going to get one of the top guys. Maybe you get Jackson Smith and Jigba or Jordan Addison or Butte or one of the running backs or somebody like that. And so I was actually looking at this guy's team to see where this first was. And I just decided that it was early because this guy's rebuilding. Like, he doesn't have any running backs and he's building around young wide receivers. So now he has Drake London, Michael Pittman, George Pickens, and Garrett Wilson, and Cortland Sutton. So that's like his receiving core right now.
That's a pretty solid core.
Right. So I think if I were him, what I was thinking was that we've already seen Drake London do it now, right? So I mean, there's still right. There's still the risks that even if that 23 first next year is early, it's one of the top prospects in the class. There's still the risk that they just don't translate, especially at the wide receiver position, if that's what you're trying to build around in your rebuild. Whereas, I mean, I guess Drake London could still bust out. We saw like Kelvin Benjamin do that after a great rookie season. He busted out after that. But Drake London, as of right now, looks like he's going to be a top 10 dynasty receiver for the next however many years of his career. So I totally get it. Just cashing in on your first and just saying, I've seen enough from Drake London that tells me that he's going to be a success in the NFL, and I'm willing to remove the risk of a prospect that might not succeed in the NFL for Drake London.
Especially when you read off that player's wide receivers, because that shouldn't be the 101 in a 12-team league. Like, there's got to be a worse
He's
team.
Good enough. And he has Tua as his quarterback, so I think there's enough in there propping him up that he's going to be, well, maybe early, it's going to be maybe 4 or 5, something like that. Early to mid-ish.
The only thing that would kill me is to lose out on Bijan for this.
Yeah.
But that's literally it right now, as of September, almost October. Otherwise, this is... Yeah, I just looked at the next trade and completely lost any words that I could have had in my brain, because someone traded Drake London for Alvin Kamara and Cam Akers, and I don't know why. Drake London 530.9, Alvin Kamara 496, Cam Akers 393 for a total of 889. And I get it, that is very heavily in favor of the running back side, but like you trade a young wide receiver away for running backs who are scoring points, and they're not.
Neither one are
scoring points.
No, honestly, not a lot of running backs are scoring points right now. But
Saquon is.
Yes, he is. Let's go. So you're Drake London on this one?
Without even thinking about it, yeah.
Okay. The only reason that I could see this happening, I think you have to be a contender, right? Although even though that you're contending, Drake London has been like a top 15 fantasy receiver so far. So there's that. The only way that I could see myself making this deal would be I'd have to believe that I could flip both of those guys individually for better assets because they're running backs, but I think that's dicey. I don't really like moves in the hope that I can make future moves,
I mean, that's where I live, but like
Sure, but I mean, these are risky assets.
Yes, right? These are not the assets you do that with. Again, unless you have the inside knowledge of knowing that there is a Kamara believer that believes he's going to turn into Kamara in the next few games.
Yeah. But then, like, if you're trading away Kamara, like, what do you want? Oh, I want Drake London.
I mean, of course I do, but like, I don't think that's what you should get. Like, okay, yeah, but like, Mm,
Yeah. It just
all right.
seems like a weird trade.
Yeah, like I kind of would love to hear the reasoning behind this because like
Yeah. But I think this is a good trade to talk about, though, or at least in the fact that we discussed it, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, I get Alvin Kamara and Cam Akers. Like, I get 2 every single week starting running backs for just Drake London. Like, why would I not do that? But you and I are
because you
both on the
trade
Drake London
the
side.
only reason you trade away young wide receivers is to get those solid points, and there's no solid points on that side.
Plus, there's riskiness with age from Alvin Kamara and Achilles committee with Cam Akers. Overall effectiveness with Cam Akers. Drake
Mhm.
London's going to keep ascending to in value, and you're going to be able to get like Javante for Drake London.
Let's go. It is time for. We need to talk about this. I brought up talking about Trevor Lawrence because I've been trying to trade for Trevor Lawrence everywhere for the past like week and a half and haven't really been able to pull much off. And I got a counter offer today, and I wanted to talk about it because of a few reasons. I I am a different beast when it comes to trades and dynasty leagues in general. I play a lot more whimsically than most people do. I'm willing to do things just for the heck of it. Most people shouldn't do that. But I play in a lot of low stakes, the trade addicts leagues are pretty much are $42 buy-in, and that's only that high because we donate a decent amount to charity. Like my most expensive league is $50.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't have a lot riding on anything. So I will always say everybody is for sale for the right price. There are so many people that will say, well, this guy's not leaving my team, so don't bother asking. And that makes me want to start ripping things. It's just like, okay, I mean, I was going to give you 323 first and Josh Allen for T. Higgins, but if you don't want it, that's fine.
That's my favorite thing to do.
Oh, well, sorry, I'll move on to someone else. So first of all, that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I threw an offer out to one of the Trevor Lawrence GMs, and he replied saying like, look, I don't want to trade Trevor Lawrence. And I said, look, I don't care. I want you to give him to me. That literally happened, by the way. And so he then replies to me saying, okay, well, I sent you an offer. You'll probably say no, but like I said, I didn't want to get rid of him. That's how you handle it. Like, someone comes to me saying, hey, Russ, I want T. Higgins from you. And I'm like, all right, but you're going to have to pay more than you think you have to, Mm-hmm. Everyone should be able to be acquired because there is a price. There is always a price, short of like, if you're Addison Higgins, like, and your brother's on your fantasy team, okay, maybe then cool. But like, for the average person who is not related to in any way, shape, or form to a football player, you should always listen to an offer. And then this is the offer that came in. He sent, actually, let me take a step back. I wish I remembered what I sent. I think it was like Derek Carr and a late first. Oh yeah, because it's Derek Carr and a late first for Trevor Lawrence. I knew he was going to reject it, but I was going to try anyway. He has a rebuilding team as well, but I wanted to try because I tried in every single league, whether it made sense or not. And that's when the conversation happened. And then he sent back to me Derek Carr, a late first, and CeeDee Lamb for Trevor Lawrence. Yeesh. So he ain't lying. So CeeDee Lamb comes in at 606, Derek Carr 380, late 23 first is 265 for a total of 1251. Trevor Lawrence is 627. So I came close to just hitting yes anyway. It would have been a bad trade. I know it would have been the wrong thing, but I was just like, here's my thing. After months of back and forth with this other guy, I finally got my 23 first back. So I am tearing this the heck down. That is not my first, by the way, just to put it out there. That's Rocky's first, and Rocky is very good at fantasy football, so he has a very good team. So that is going to be a playoff, probably 10, 11, 12.
Can you remove Derek Carr?
I mean, that's what I'm going to try. remove Derek Carr and ask for like a low end wide receiver too. Like that's going to be my counter. But I wanted to talk about this for the pure reason of everything. It's always worth a shot. Like he absolutely handled this correctly where I'm not saying no, even though I don't want to get rid of this guy. Here's what it would take. And you never know if the person's crazy like I am and willing just to say, yeah, whatever, that's fine, I don't care. But also, it can lead to an actual deal that you would still be happy with and can, make stuff still happen and make your team most likely still better, because I'm clearly willing to overpay for Trevor Lawrence right now. Mm-hmm. So why I get liking, clearly this is me. I have this guy hanging on my wall. He's one of my most owned players. I like having him on all of my teams if possible. Someone offers me a crazy deal, I'm taking it anyway.
Right.
Like the point is to make your team better while still liking it, hopefully. So why not throw that counter? So why not throw that idea out and say, this is what it would take? Because even if that doesn't get accepted, which I'm really glad my hands didn't listen to my brain right away and just hit accept, because that would have been silly of me. But it's worth a shot, because even if it doesn't get accepted, it can lead to something.
Yeah.
And that's really what I wanted to talk about in the end of this, even though, again, like I never really intended on accepting this. And I even told Addison, I'm like, look, I'm not taking this, but I want to put this in the show anyway, because there's process I wanted to talk about. And I think too many people have like solid lines in the sand when it should just be like, a dotted line. Have little holes to be able to be walked through, because it's fun. It leads to trades and still will make your team better. And putting up a wall and saying no doesn't get you anywhere, especially if you are in a rebuild. Walking away with CeeDee Lamb and a first is great. So good on you, Kenny, for doing this, because I'm hoping it works a deal out between the two of us. And if not, you gave me something to talk about when I honestly did not get a good trade offer in the past few days.
Yeah. Let me know how this one works out and see if you actually get Trevor Lawrence, because if you get him before I post this video, I might be able to include it in the video. So,
okay. No, yeah. The second we stop, I'm going to go and put on my GM hat, put on my top, button it up, put on the tie, get my GM aura going, and send a counter. Ow, my zipper stuff now. There it goes. Okay. Well, on that note, this has been the DLF Trade Show. Russ Fisher at Dynasty Ad House. Addison Hayes at AmazeHayes_. Did you guys know he's a senior contributor at DLF? Did you? No? Hey, senior contributor Addison Hayes. See you next time.